kindness for me is lifting other people up. And I always feel that if you're not lifting somebody up, you're not truly being intentionally, like we talked about earlier, intentionally kind. And that's the key, is to be intentional. Make it just a part of your natural day-to-day activities. And through my research, one of the things that really spurred me on was that there are studies out there that show the physiology in our brain changes when you and I share an act of kindness. Whoa. Our serotonin levels go up. And the fascinating thing, and it still fascinates me today, anyone that watched that act of kindness around us, their happy hormones also went up. So there are studies that prove the physiology of our brains are changed in a very positive way. And if we're each doing acts of kindness in our own corner of the world, then those are going to merge together and create a wave of kindness that washes across the country. And we really need it right now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 33 Conversations. I'm your host, Michael Abney. And I'm here. We're here to talk with founders about what they're building, the mission that's driving their everyday, and talk about what's underneath the hood of building something that's meaningful in the world. It's a very rewarding journey, but it's also got a lot of other pitfalls that I feel if we talk about them openly with other founders and what they're building and hearing their stories, that has a chance of making a difference in somebody else's life, as we're all witnessing the chaos that's emerging and emerged on the planet. It's the perfect time for me to sharpen my skills and focus on what I love. And that's what we're doing here today on 33 Conversations. And my guest today is Teresa Ramirez. And hi, Teresa. How are you?
Hi.
So you saw us. I posted on Need a Guest. I love that little Facebook spot. I've used it for my series that I did before, and I met a lot of really amazing people. So I can't wait to get to know you better today. But you shared your story about how school violence started the catalyst for you. Will you tell me more about, and our audience more about what the spark was that started one day you were X, this thing happened or it impacted you and caused you to go a different direction. Can we start there?
Sure.
Can we start there and
Yeah,
introduce
sure.
yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. First, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too.
And journey kind of started with a school shooting in Parkland, Florida, back in 2018. And really God was the one that came and poke, nudge, nudge. And so I grieved with them. I sympathized with them. And then I thought, there's something you can do as students. You don't have to wait for laws to change. You don't have to wait for school policy to change. You can be the change, and how you treat each other. So that's kind of how this all started. And I did a 21-day kindness challenge. Just who do you encounter throughout your day as a student? So it started day one at home, parents, siblings, ways to be kind to them. Then, the school bus driver, the carpool driver. Then getting into school, the principal, the teacher, the cafeteria worker, the custodian, being kind to them. And it went on through 21 days. And then COVID hit. And like everybody else, I landed in front of my computer reading everything and anything and found out, adults are kind of nasty. I actually was appalled by some of the things I saw. And one woman was reaching out for help, and this other woman just slammed her for asking for help. And I'm like, what? She clearly said, I understand this, and this, but I really need help. And this other woman slammed her on the things that she realized. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. I have to focus on the parents, because parents are the role models for their children. Whether they realize it or not, they are the number one.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. So that chaos of that is what kind of gave you that clarity. So help me with the timeline. So I just want to make sure timelines. Parkland happened when?
It was in 2018.
18.
And I really didn't, I will be honest, I kind of sat on it for about a year because I didn't know what I was doing.
Do you have kids in school? What was your relationship to the schools that connects you to this?
Yeah, well, first, there was no connection. It was all God saying, we can do better, and here you need to do something. So it was all that.
Okay.
My kids, I am actually an empty nester. My kids are growing. But I pull from all experiences. But no, I really
What
had no connection to that school shooting,
did you have
which
any
was my
connection
last
to
career.
knowing how? Did you have any connection to knowing how to do anything like this, or was this just like you had the idea? Did it? Did you have a data bank of experience in your past that helped you facilitate or build what you heard your higher power saying to you that this is you can do something, you can be in action? Like how did you find that path after that?
Really, I honestly, I didn't have a lot of things. I've always been kind of creative, entrepreneurial in my mind. But when it came to this, it was like, wow. So I actually just fed from my childhood, manners,
Okay.
the basics manners. My parents always contributed and gave back, those kind of things. So I was just thinking, and then I have inspiration. My niece and her husband have 4 kids, and I use them a lot in my inspiration. And just talk to them and my other nieces and nephews, and just started talking to people, talking to other parents.
What
And
did they
then
say?
I
What did
hit,
they say? What did they
they
what were
just,
they telling you?
I said the number one question I asked was, what do you want for your kids? What do you
What did
want?
they say?
And they said, we want them to be happy. And I said, well, what else? And they said, well, and finally, one of my nieces said, it's more than just being happy. We want them to be happy, productive, kind, and compassionate. And in the end, we want them to be the ones that change the world. And that actually truly was probably the catalyst statement that I really took off with.
Did the
And
light switch
they,
go off?
yeah, the light
Yeah.
bulb went off. It totally went off.
Okay. I love
And
that.
I've done a lot of research and just digging through anything I can find on how we're kind to people. And a lot of the examples, my books are my nieces and nephews. And but then there was one, there's a payoff. I guess that's what I wanted to emphasize. There's a payoff. If you're modeling kindness, your kids are going to do things when you're not watching, and it's going to be good stuff. And
Yeah.
and one was a kid, and I didn't know him. Pouring down rain, and some lady got a flat tire, and she called, the auto club, and they're like, it could be 2 hours. And she's like, I have to sit here in the rain for 2 hours. And lo and behold, a teenager was walking by, said, hey, I can change it for you. He changed it. She was going to give him money, and he said no, and just walked on by. Now somebody, and she said, I was flabbergasted, and that he would offer to stop in the pouring down rain, and he was already walking. Uh, so yeah, and took nothing for it. And people say teenagers are so bad. No, they're not. We just have to give them a chance, and we have to give them a model to go by.
Yeah. So like what that's a ginormous task. Um like that's a big apple to take a bite of, right? How did you like what was the first step that you took after you started getting the feedback and hearing like I know kindness represents something to you because you have it in multiple titles. So what let's start there. Like what is kindness your version of it? What's your take on kindness in the aspect of what you're wanting to share with the world? Because you would like want to make children more kind, but like what is it for you?
Kindness for me is lifting other people up. And I always feel that if you're not lifting somebody up, you're not truly being intentionally, like we talked about earlier, intentionally kind. And that's the key, is to be intentional. Make it just a part of your natural day-to-day activities. And through my research, one of the things that really spurred me on was that there are studies out there that show the physiology in our brain changes when you and I share an act of kindness. Whoa. Our serotonin levels go up, and
Okay.
those are our happy hormones. And the fascinating thing, and it still fascinates me today, anyone that watched that act of kindness around us, their happy hormones also went up. So there are studies that prove the physiology of our brains are changed in a very positive way. And if we're each doing acts of kindness in our own corner of the world, then those are going to merge together and create a wave of kindness that washes across the country. And we really need it right now. But that was probably the catalyst that really spurred me. Okay, we can do this. We can change the world. We really can. You just have to, it's not just a cliche saying. We can really do this, but we have to be intentional about it.
In.
Yes, in our hearts. Yes, in our hearts.
Yes. 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 So I am like, this is my jam. I love this, where I'm so committed. I've been doing this for about 30 years, watching transformation and breakthroughs, and just really kind of obsessed with it since my very first little weekend seminar thing that I did in 1996. Like I saw this magic about just what you just talked about, like how being kind transfers to each other. Like when I was sitting in that weekend transformational space seminar thing, and I could see like when somebody would have a breakthrough with something, it would cause somebody over here in a room of 200 people to have another breakthrough, unrelated, but
Yeah.
breakthrough the same. And it was like popcorn going off, and like I would get chills just thinking about it. So I never knew that was a thing until then, and it was just that was my light switch. So I understand what you're talking about, and I'm fascinated to how I understand how we've got to get to the person. Like one thing you said, like why, like it seems so easy, right? It seems so easy just to be kind, but the reality is, I don't know if you said it this when we were talking on the pod, but pre-pod we were talking. I think you did about like how people the nastiness comes out. We see it everywhere. That people just think it's okay to blah 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 blah. I wasn't raised like that, so that's weird
Yeah.
for me to experience it. But at the same time, I'm old enough to know you can't resist anything, and it's much more powerful to come from a place of I accept, no judgment, and I understand there's something causing that human to exhibit that. Because I've been in too many coaching situations to know different, that there's some sort of pain that they've got. It's like you couldn't help anybody if you didn't take care of yourself first. We'd be having a different conversation. Nobody really talks about that.
Yes.
So do you bring that up about like self-care? You got to put your own oxygen mask on. You got to learn how to calm yourself. You got to we got to evolve. We got to evolve.
You have to evolve. You
Yeah.
have to keep your kindness tank full, because if it's on empty, you have nothing to give. And I always tell people, take 15 minutes in the morning with that cup of coffee before anybody gets up. Just kind of sit with it.
You know what? I'm all about real time. I've got my tea. We're at 9 o'clock in the morning recording this. Let's be an example. I'm all about like transformation in real time. So let's paint a picture for people that have been watching all of the stuff. What you watch expands, what you focus on expands. We all know this. But yet that vibration is out there all the time now. And we don't have to engage with it. We can watch it. We just don't have to stare at it. So you tell me from your expert perspective here, how in the morning in 15 minutes that we can calm ourselves, that we can presence ourselves to kindness. So the floor is yours.
I have my tea. This is tea as well, but so many people love coffee, so I always say that. But for me, and it's going to be what works for you. But I can tell you, for me, I sit down and I start my prayer. I start talking to God. I start thanking God. Yes, I've got another day. Okay, it's raining today. I don't like the rain, but we need the rain. So thank you for the rain. Those kind of things. And I start with quiet conversation with God and gratitude. And everything's quiet. Even the animals leave me alone for that 15 minutes before they start asking to be fed. But yeah, that's all you have to do. Now, that 15 minutes could mean for you sitting in meditation. You can do that. What works for you. And that's what I said.
Yeah,
I can give you the ideas, I can give you a picture, but if you're like, well, that doesn't work for me, okay, it doesn't have to. Everybody's
yeah.
different.
Everybody has a different relationship to that space within inside of us, and we all have different names for it. It's all the same thing. It is. So, like when I used to always be weird about. I grew up in a really religious background. I was really like not really ever wanting to go with that subject because it's so weird for everybody. But just want to be present to like you're expressing what your relationship is with your person inside of you, whatever you call it, and I'll call it whatever I call it. But we all know it's there. We all know it
Right.
connects all of us. And I went like that's I'm sticking with that. I know that that is connects all of us. That we know that there's something that else is present in this life. Like I practice being the observer like 80, I have an 80-20 rule. So it's like 80% observation, 20% action. So that I make sure that I stay out of reaction mode because it's really easy to wake up in the morning. And if you don't do this, some sort of version, you're going to you're going to attach it's going to like feel like a loop and a rat wheel that you're never going to be able to get your mission fulfilled because you're inside a trap that most people can't get out of, which ironically makes them upset and
Yeah.
angry and bitchy. Yes, all of those things
I
is
have a great
because
story
we're
to
not
share.
connected.
Yeah.
We're not connected. Yeah. So
No,
what you said is very,
yeah.
very powerful. I every morning I wake up and even just sidebar, how you go to bed is how you wake up. How you go to bed is how you wake up. So the most important way to transform
Yes.
anyone's life is being present to that last hour before you go to bed and what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you want to create for yourself. That is the fastest way.
And
The
that was
fastest way.
another example I always give about the being kind, feeling your kindness take up. If you can't do the 15 minutes in the morning, do the time at night, whether it be a hot bubble bath, sitting with a glass of wine, whatever, again, whatever works for you. When everything's quiet, I think that's the key. But one thing you had talked about was reactionary, and you don't know what people are going through. And I had an experience early on in my journey here that really, again, spurred me on to do better. At a restaurant, we're eating, or not eating, we're not eating yet. We're waiting for the server to come. She finally comes up. What do you want? Or we had a couple questions about the menu. I don't know. I was told to come over and take your order. What do you want? And my friend and I are looking at each other going, oh, this is not good. But we placed our order, got our food. The food was fine. She did not refill a coffee. She did not refill a water. At the end of the meal, she came back and slams the bill on the table. And I'm like, and my friend and I actually sat this conversation because we had every right to call a manager over. We had every right to complain. And we did talk about it. And then we just I said, no, let's try this. Now, I had no idea what I was doing, no idea what would happen. We paid, left a normal tip, and then on the receipt, I put a smiley face and said, you are designed to shine. We just gathered our stuff up, walked on out the door. Well, she chased us into a parking lot. Tears. Thank you. I really needed to hear that today. And, and turned back to the restaurant, ran back in, finished her job. And my friend and I got in the car and we thought, didn't see that coming. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But that was another thing that spurred me, another aha moment, if you will, that personal pain is as unique as a fingerprint. You never know what somebody's going through, so you should always be kind. Don't do that. Like I said, is it more important to be right, or is it more important to be kind? And kindness clearly paid off in that case. And
Yeah.
that, again, was just another lesson I learned in my journey.
You said something. I never thought of it this way before. You said we never know what they're going through. It's true.
That's
But
true.
we do know that everybody is going through the most extraordinary changes this planet has ever seen or felt or known. And we're doing it at the speed of light with no education about how to transform. None. So we all got to let ourselves off the hook because we just do. It's
And
like
another,
obviously the other way of clashing and fighting and it doesn't work and it's not sustainable. It doesn't work and it's not sustainable.
and
Yeah.
another way to keep your kindness tank full,
Yeah.
forgive yourself. We're all human. We make mistakes. And I think a lot of that anger is just still angry at yourself from something that happened 6 months ago.
Or
It's okay.
6 years ago or 60 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. You just don't know. So give yourself a break and, and forgive yourself and say it out loud.
Yeah.
That is key.
And to forgive, a lot of people don't even know what forgiveness means. And I had it's to forgive means to give as if before the thing that happened
Mhm.
happened. Give in life like you did before the thing that happened to you that you stopped giving. That's what forgiving is. Not about the other person. It's about what you made up when you interacted
Yeah.
with that person. So,
And then,
yeah,
you know,
amazing.
that, that is amazing. And it does go to forgiving others as well. It's not necessarily about the other person, it's about you.
Never about
Because
the other
that
person.
festers inside you and it's ugly when it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, the easiest context is that we're mirrors. Everything is a mirror.
Yes.
Everything is a mirror. Everything, every human's a mirror. Every aspect's a mirror. It's all a mirror. May not be right or wrong, but it
Mhm.
works. And if you
Right?
look at it that way from that perspective, then you're open and curious about the information that that mirror is giving back to you. And then you have something. But if you react to it, you just keep the thing that needs to be healed in place. And that's what you've done from what I'm hearing you say about what you had that aha and you started in action with it. And now we're in 2025. Where are you at now with it? And what was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome to get here?
I think the biggest obstacle was knowing, especially because I'm older, that I can change what my life was. I was in corporate world for 30 plus years. I was a caregiver for 5 years. But okay, and I think you and I talked about this. Who am I? And Journey was coming out of that. So I think the biggest obstacle was myself and what was going on in my head. And somebody said, just do it. Don't think about, I can't because this is my obstacle. That's the roadblock. Get rid of all that and just do it. And in the process, I wrote everything down and I put it in a book and it's called Raising Kind Children. And the greatest thing about this is 6 months later, I won an award. And I
What
was
did you
like,
win?
it's the book, Impact Book Award
Okay.
for, for parenting in that
Wow,
category.
which is, yeah.
Yeah. I
How'd
mean,
that
that was
feel?
like, I never saw that coming.
How did it
So it was
feel?
exciting.
How
It's
did,
a huge deal, and I was very excited for that.
I know.
But
But
that's where the journey just takes you. And now with the book and all that done, I'm thinking about a second book, and I'm going out and speaking to PTOs, parenting groups, a few corporations here and there for their team building. But I'm getting out there and spreading the message and how you can build that foundation of kindness, make it as natural as breathing. And then there is a payoff. And the payoff is when you get in those awkward, interesting server customer situations like I was, how you can respond kindly versus continuing that cycle of reactionary
how does
response.
it make you feel being like where you're at today
Oh my gosh.
and having said yes to that intuition whisper that you had? Like, how do you feel in here?
When I'm obedient to God, the whole, it's like the sun shines every day, all the time. But it just makes your heart grow more, and it's now a lifestyle. So it is so ingrained in me. Um, it makes everything better. Like I said, that those happy hormones kick on and off all the time. Now, with that said, I'm not perfect. I have my moments just like everybody else.
Name one.
Because
Give me
everybody,
one. Give
that's
me one.
just, that's
Give
just
me one.
her. And I'm like, no, it's not always like that. But for the
Tell
most,
me about. Tell me. Can you think of an instance?
where
I
I
love this.
what didn't do so good,
Yeah, when you're
yeah,
not so good. Yeah,
when I'm not
that.
so good. This is a more recent incident, and I truly felt somebody was abusing an animal, and I went off. I just, it hit
Yeah.
me that day, and I yelled and screamed. I told them exactly what I thought of them, which was not nice, and then the words I used were not nice. And yeah, it was bad.
What
Five
was
minutes
going on with
later,
you? What was going on with you? Because when you were doing that, there's something
yeah,
that we're
I
covering
know,
up. So what was it? What was it?
there wasn't. That's the thing. It truly, because I think this particular incident, I'd been seeing things
Building
for
up.
months, and it just built up, and it just hit that day. Because everything else for me was right. I just think this particular incident was just something I should have just talked nicely months ago instead of letting it build up like I did.
It's a process of walking over something. There was something that you walked over. We're trained to walk over things to
Mm-hmm.
be, especially, I don't know how old you are, but I'll be 60 next year. So like we were taught, our X generation, just smooth that over. Nobody, no, just keep going. Don't make a rave. Don't make a thing about that. No, no, just keep everything nice and calm and smooth, and everything will be okay. But what it does is we walk over that so that these little tiny things, instead of like communicating and resolving as we go, we have that one hit about, and you do love animals. I saw your kitty
Yeah.
earlier.
I forgot I mentioned
So
that.
that,
That's
yeah,
right.
that would trigger. If I saw somebody abusing an animal, yeah, they would get a word or two. But yeah, that is that's the power of being present and understanding, keeping ourselves clear so that we keep our relationships clear and have compassion for, the lady that came running after you at the restaurant. We have no idea how many things that she walked over or
No
what was
idea.
like. We just, but we do know it's happening. We do know it's happening, so we really don't have the luxury of pretending anymore that people aren't going through. All of us are going through all of it, and that leaves no other space but kindness.
It
What did you
does,
do?
and I
Yeah,
will tell you,
yeah.
with that incident, it took me a couple days, but I knew I had to forgive myself because I was sick for 2 days because of what I did. So the forgiveness, you know, there's a lot, like you were talking, it's a process. It's a process. But if you do slip and it happens, make sure you take the time to stop in those 15 minutes and forgive yourself.
And find networks out there that, I know it's rare. That's why I created spaces I'm creating, is for, there's not real spaces to have these kind of conversations. So this is a space. I create a space for founders, and like we've got to make our own spaces for this because it doesn't exist in the world that we grew up in. But the world that is in front of us, it requires us to be human. It requires us to be human and not the fake outside surface level stuff. So that's why I'm so intentional. That's why we had the conversation at the beginning of the pod, was like, this is not surface stuff. We're going to talk about stuff that's
Yeah.
underneath it.
Yeah,
And we did. I appreciate
we
that.
did.
I also want to like kind of get a sense of what's next for you. What are you working on that's pulling you into next year?
Yeah,
Like
the
what's
next
the
year
thing?
I'm going to be doing a second book, which is just coming off of what people have asked me more questions about through this, and probably more along the lines of conflict management. But I'm going to call it something else because I hate that term. It's just one of those cliche terms they throw out there. And then I'm going to just continue to speak uh, to parenting groups because that's my niche. And I just love being able to reach out and talk to people. And I know I have a parenting summit coming up in January as well.
What's something that a parent told you, like when you've been talking to them over the last couple of months? Like, what is something like an aha that they give you? It's like, oh, before we met, I would thought this way, and now I think this way because of what you're bringing to the table.
Um, I think the number one thing parents come, we're kind, we do this, we do that. And what I said, yes, you do. And I'm not dashing anybody. You're doing your best, but I'm just saying, can you step it up a notch and be intentional? Put up signs in your house. For your audience, I'm going to give them 75 random acts of kindness that they can download for free. Get that list out and say, okay, as a family, let's do this week. So that's the thing for parents is I'm asking to step it up a notch and use your intentions.
I love it. Calling people up to the plate.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, this has been inspiring for me. I loved hearing your story, and I love how just an event as horrific as all of the mass shootings are, it's not just we're not just sitting and staring at it. Like you're
No.
taking action. I know other people have taken action in their own way, but it's like we're allowing what's happening to evolve us. And I'm a firm believer that all of our solutions for our problems do not exist at the level of consciousness in which they were created. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to raise the level of our consciousness to find those solutions and bring them into reality. And in some way, I know that that's what you're doing. I can see the thread through your story. So thank you so much for sharing that with me today and our audience. Teresa, I appreciate it. Do you have any last things that you would like to share? I will put all of your information how people can contact you. And you said you had a free gift for us too. We'll link that in the description box below. But is there anything that you would like to say before we end today's podcast?
I do want just people to remember, because we've talked so much about reactions, is that personal pain is unique as a fingerprint. You never know what someone is going through. So always be
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really great place to leave me today. As I go out for the rest of my day, I'm going to be carrying that along with me. And even though I know it, it does never hurt to keep representing ourselves to the humanity that's happening in front of us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well,
And to
thank
all
you
of our
so much
listeners
for
out
having me.
there, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Thank you. To all of our listeners out there, appreciate you guys listening in. And we are here for founders sharing our story about the crazy journey of building something that's meaningful in the world. And yeah, we're doing it on top of all of it. So have a blessed day, and we will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.